You have outdone yourselves once again this year. I am so excited to make this very important introduction. To close the 1995 Business Leadership Summit, we are so pleased and so honored to have with us the former Prime Minister of Great Britain, Margaret Thatcher. Lady Thatcher was Britain's first woman Prime Minister, and she served in that capacity for more than 11 years. The Conservative Party, under her leadership, won 3 successive general election victories. As Prime Minister, she reversed Britain's economic decline by rolling back socialism, concentrating instead on achieving sound public finances, reforming trade union law, cutting taxes, and privatizing state-owned industry. Under her leadership, Britain made great strides toward becoming a property and capital-owning democracy in which every earner was an owner. Lady Thatcher strengthened the country's defenses, leading Britain to victory in the Falklands War, always being a wonderful, staunch friend and ally of the United States, resisting communist intimidation. In 1992, she was elevated to the House of Lords to become Baroness Thatcher. So please join me in a warm summit welcome for Lady Thatcher.
Well, if I could have your attention for just a minute, we're just about finished. We have one last item of business, and 7 of you are going to be happy that you stayed. The other 1,450 are not going to be so happy. But in any event, what I would like to get right now is my helpers, and if they could identify themselves. I know they're close, okay? Here comes the young lady who has the magic envelopes. And if this young lady could come down and help me draw names. I didn't want to bring anybody out of the audience. Oh, are you a runner? I didn't hear the answer to that question. Elvira, you need to stay there, don't you? In case we have a winner on that side. I hate to bring somebody out of the audience because you're liable to pull your own name, and then it'll just look terrible. So if I could get somebody up here that isn't going to be part of helping me deliver these door prizes, and who would that be? Somebody quickly. I don't care who it is. Make a decision. There's a young man coming right now. Perfect. Okay.
And before we introduce our final speaker of the day, I want to recognize the fact that the summit has hosted 30 students from Lodi Unified School District who are watching the show today in the adjacent Tilly Lewis Theater. And we want to thank the Schrader family and McDonald's for feeding those folks because we wanted to avoid ugly, hungry teenagers. So, just as she did while serving as First Lady of the United States, Barbara Bush has continued to serve others with her tireless energy, goodwill, and good humor since leaving the White House in 1993. Mrs. Bush serves as a board member of the Mayo Clinic Foundation and is an active supporter of the Leukemia Society, the Ronald McDonald's House, and the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Her primary cause, however, is literacy. In 1990, she developed the Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy, which seeks to establish literacy as a family value in every American household. She also hosted Mrs. Bush's Story Time, which was a national radio program stressing the importance of reading aloud to children. You may have seen Mrs. Bush's picture in our newspaper recently, as she and her husband are part of a national advertising campaign to promote literacy in conjunction with the Newspaper Association of America. Mrs. Bush is the author of 3 books, including her recent best-selling autobiography, A Memoir. Please join me in giving a Stockton welcome to one of America's favorite First Ladies, Barbara Bush.
Well, I want to thank Terry very much for that wonderful welcome, and all of you for a very warm welcome.
As most of you know, the Business Leadership Summit was formed 4 years ago as an educational foundation, non-for-profit corporation. As a working example of what we hope can be accomplished through this educational corporation, I would like to introduce two friends of mine, two friends of the Summit, and two friends of San Joaquin County, Jose Rivera of Kaiser Permanente and Don DeRosa of the University of Pacific for a special presentation. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Terry. I have the great privilege today to share some great news. One of my basic operating principles as a business leader and community member is that businesses have a responsibility to make qualitative differences in the community in which we live. Businesses that are community-minded are those that engage themselves in the betterment of the educational system. I think you've heard that as a theme today. Because I believe a superb educational system is pivotal to creating a successful community. With education, people can find meaningful employment. And with jobs comes what? Comes access, not only to high-quality health care, but to vast opportunities to improve one's quality of life and overall, what I always say, the wellness of the community in San Joaquin County. To make this possible locally, Kaiser Permanente Stockton collaborates with many of you, other businesses, and many of the other community organizations to improve the educational system of our county, so we can help produce a highly skilled and educated workforce, as been alluded to as just most recently by Mrs. Bush. An exciting partnership that I'm proud to announce today is a partnership with the University of the Pacific and with, obviously, Dr. Don DeRosa, their president. Kaiser Permanente is providing funds that will be matched by the University of the Pacific, which totals to $40,000, that will establish a combined investment of $80,000 in the community involvement program. And I think that deserves an applause. Now, what's so special about this partnership? The Community Involvement Program is a scholarship program for deserving students in San Joaquin County who might not otherwise have the opportunity to attend this outstanding university. Perhaps one of the greatest legacies any business can have is to play a part in the future of its community. All of us at Kaiser Permanente Stockton, its employees, its physicians, are proud to establish this first step in a long-term relationship with the University of Pacific. I'd like to recognize Dr. DeRosa. We talked about communication and exchanges of beepers and high tech. Well, we exchange faxes, and they work really well, I have to tell you. And so on behalf of Kaiser Permanente, I'd like to present Dr. DeRosa this $40,000 envelope, and he will in fact be investing equally in this $80,000 partnership. Dr. DeRosa, I'd like to recognize you for being an outstanding leader in our community. Thank
you. We at Pacific are especially delighted by this emerging partnership with Kaiser. This not only will help students that are at Pacific today, but it will help many students in our community who otherwise could not afford a Pacific education. Thank you very much, Jose.
on a fire, on a fire, on a fire, breathe dragon. No, don't breathe fire. The sprinkler systems will go off and these folks will get wet. Say goodbye. Okay, coming to the stage right now, ladies and gentlemen, is the Vice President of this here summit. Please put your hands together for Mr. Ron Addington. Yay!
Ever been introduced by a green lizard before?
Good afternoon. I'm Leroy Minitree of MSI. Welcome to the afternoon session of the 5th Annual Business Leadership Summit. And now we're going to witness a daring attempt by Washington, D.C.'s political satire troupe, the Capitol Steps. The Capitol Steps will attempt, although others have failed, to be funnier than the Congress. And the Capitol Steps really know how funny the Congress is. They've all worked on Capitol Hill. In fact, they began as entertainment for a Capitol Hill office party. Their first idea for this party was to stage a nativity play. But in the whole Congress, they couldn't find 3 wise men and a virgin. Since they began in 1981, the Capitol Steps have appeared on all the networks and performed for 4 presidents, 5 if you include Hillary. They have performed from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon. Since they began, the Capitol Steps have recorded 18 albums, the latest of which is entitled Unzippin' My Doodah. President Bush once said, and this is a real quote, "Golly, the Capitol Steps are really neat." And so, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Capitol Steps.
Yay, a scandal!
Humongous scandal.
Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Hallelujah!
He saved the Israel economy from near collapse. And as foreign minister and prime minister in the 1990s, Mr. Peres was the key architect of the historic Oslo Peace Accords. Emigrating to Israel as a boy, Shimon Peres lived as a farmer and shepherd on a kibbutz. He was singled out by Israel's great leader, David Ben-Gurion, who appointed him while still in his 20s, Director General of the Ministry of Defense. Mr. Peres served as Israel's prime minister during 3 very critical periods in Israel history, and he has held every major cabinet position there. As a major initiator of the historic peace agreement signed between Israel and the PLO in 1993, and then with Jordan in 1994, Mr. Peres was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in December of 1994. In 1996, he developed the Peres Institute for Peace. That is a non-profit, apolitical organization which is designed to develop and cultivate peace between people of that region. We are so honored to have him with us today. Please join me in welcoming His Excellency, Shimon Peres.
Thank you, Jennifer. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a real pleasure to be at your place at Stockton, such a beautiful city, green and sunny. And I understand you are great producers of milk and wine, so for me it's a land of milk and honey.
We ask you to open your mental door of uncharted possibilities. Make it a no-limits day. Take the nuggets that you mine from each of the speakers and find ways to use them to your 21st century advantage beginning today. And to help set the mental stage for that 21st century perspective that we talk about, we've invited Mr. Steve Forbes to kick off the 98 Leadership Summit. There is a brief profile on him in your program, and I know that many of you are well aware of who Steve Forbes is, but I will summarize his biography for you briefly. Steve Forbes is one part political visionary, one part publishing magnate, and one part economic forecaster extraordinaire. After graduating from Princeton with a history degree and completing a tour with the National Guard, Mr. Forbes went to work for the Family Magazine. As CEO, he transformed this magazine into one of the world's leading publishing empires. He then drew on that business experience to help formulate the political platform for the conservative camp that really energized the '96 presidential primaries. And it continues to really shape the nation's political agenda. Steve is a strong supporter of the flat tax, of medical savings accounts. He supports a new Social Security system for younger people and parental control over schools. Please join me in welcoming an emerging national leader who shares a vision of hope, growth, and opportunity for the new millennium, Mr. Steve Forbes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for that very warm welcome. And thank you, Brian, for those very kind words. Obviously, Brian has become something of a diplomat thanks to the Stockton Summit over the years. You'll notice, for example, in his introduction, he displayed at least two examples of diplomacy. One, of course, is he kind of glided over as to how I achieved my position in the private sector.
Welcome back. I'm John Zeider from Zeider Eye, and this morning I have the privilege of introducing a very gifted individual. Dr. Benjamin Carson was raised by his mother in Detroit's inner cities. Through self-determination, through the support and encouragement of his ever-loving mother, and through his strong religious beliefs, he was able to overcome many obstacles to become one of the most celebrated neurosurgeons in the world. At age 33, he was named Director of Pediatric Neurosurgery at the Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, a position he has held for over 14 years. In 1987, he played an integral role on the surgical team that separated 7-month-old German Siamese twins that were joined at the back of the head. He has saved numerous lives with the procedure he pioneered, removing half of the brain in children with intractable seizures that would otherwise be fatal. Dr. Carson has published 2 books, including an autobiography entitled Gifted Hands, which will soon be a motion picture. His second book, Think Big, elaborates on his philosophies for success in life. He spends much of his time speaking to elementary school and middle school children, encouraging them to study hard, follow their dreams, and think big. Please join me in welcoming the esteemed neurosurgeon, Dr. Benjamin Carson. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. My wife and I have had just a wonderful time here with you all, with the people who've been shadowing us, Bernie and Shelley, the whole group. We just love you people. It's just wonderful. And I am very privileged to be here. I'm looking at my watch because I realize that I only have 40 minutes, and I noticed how this stage sinks. So.
Stuart Varney. He's bright, he's articulate, he's charismatic, and he's changing the way television reports financial and economic news worldwide. Based in Financial News headquarters in New York City, Steve Varney anchors Business Day, CNN's live hour-long morning show designed to provide all the news that professionals need before heading to the office. And CNN-FN's In the Game, the morning's look at the stock market, which gives viewers a preview of the day's economic events. He also anchors Business Asia on CNN International and Financial News, updates that run throughout the day. An economist educated at the London School of Economics, Stuart Varney is uniquely qualified to address rapidly shifting domestic and global economic trends. His exceptional coverage and analysis of the stock market crash of 1987 resulted in his receiving the Peabody Award for Excellence in Journalism. His frank assessment of worldwide politics as it relates to economic trends, the opportunities, and the hazards is fresh, insightful, and comprehensive. Keeping us ahead of the headlines, please welcome economist Stuart Varney.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and may I say thank you very much indeed for inviting me to be with you in Stockton today. Thank you very much indeed. I live in New Jersey. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Please welcome Jonathan Meir, Vice President for University Advancement, University of the Pacific.
Dr. Jerry Lininger was selected from more than 2,000 qualified applicants for astronaut training. After a mission aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery in 1994, he trained at the Cosmonaut Training Center in Star City, Russia, in preparation for a 5-month stay aboard the Mir space station. I like that name. During one of the most dramatic and dangerous missions in space history, Dr. Lininger faced numerous life-threatening events, including the most severe fire ever aboard an orbiting spacecraft. In spite of several of these life-threatening events, Dr. Lininger and his 2 Russian crewmates still accomplished all of their mission goals, some of which he will tell us about later this morning. Dr. Lininger is a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy. He holds 2 master's degrees. He also earned 2 doctorates, one in medicine from Wayne State University, and a PhD in research methodology from the University of North Carolina. Jerry and his wife live with their 4 children in northern Michigan. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jerry Lininger, U.S. astronaut, Mir cosmonaut, and American hero.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Ignition sequence start. You know, I want to do something today. I'm going to be bold and upfront with you right off the bat and just tell you I'm here today not to tell you stories about space and entertain you with, rocket blasts and things of that nature. Going to be right up front with you and tell you I'm here to change your lives today.
Good morning. The tragedy of September 11th has really changed us forever. One good, however, that has come out of all of this is coming together of our people, unlike anything since World War II. And the recognitions of heroes really live among us, as you can see this morning. Our next speaker has dedicated his own life and talent to unifying people, changing life for the better. Edward James Olmos is an artist, a thoughtful and compelling entertainer, a producer and director who has been recognized for his work with a Golden Globe, an Emmy Award, an Oscar nomination for his role, as you remember, as Jaime Escalante, the eccentric and dedicated math teacher in Stand and Deliver. I also remember him as the father of Selena in the Selena movie. And you also remember him in many other television programs such as Miami Vice, and I always remember him when I was a small child in Suits. His star status, however, is second only to his work as a social activist. Sharing and learning from his disadvantaged childhood in East LA, he has an unbridled passion for helping the youth of America and promoting literacy and, most importantly, education. He makes over 100 appearances each year in support of issues and causes which affect children. His humanitarian service is without question. I can tell you that during the LA riots, and I was working at West LA then, he played an instrumental role in the cleanup efforts by bringing people together, thousands of LA residents with brooms. Yes, with brooms, the weapon, what I thought was a simple and useful tool to the rebuilding and supporting of LA, to the Hurricane Andrews in Florida, to the starvation experienced by the Mexican Mayan Indians, to most recently protesting against the bombing test grounds on the Puerto Rican islands. He is a Goodwill Ambassador for UNICEF, a national spokesperson for Juvenile Diabetes Foundation, and is currently Executive Director of Lives in Hazard Educational Program, a national gang prevention program funded by the U.S. Department of Justice. Edward James Olmos has recognized the urgent needs of his fellow human beings and addressed them with the tremendous corazon and faith in the potential of not just Latinos or Latinas, but all cultures, all culturas. It is with great pride that I introduce to you, to the San Joaquin community, the most influential Latino in the United States, a great role model, a great leader, and a great Americano, Mr. Edward James Olmos. Give him a hand, please.
Gracias, hermano. Felicidades. Que Dios le bendiga. Que Dios los bendiga. Muchísimas gracias. Es un honor y un placer estar aquí con ustedes. No saben el gusto que tengo estar aquí con ustedes. Todos ustedes que me están entendiendo ahorita, por favor, levanten la mano con orgullo. Turn up the house lights. Oh, hello. Can we turn off that spotlight, please? For all of you that are Spanish impaired, it's okay. We live in an English-only country. Don't worry.
Please welcome Don Wiley, Chief Executive Officer, St. Joseph's Medical Center.
Good morning. It's my pleasure today to introduce your next speaker, Dr. Peter Salgo. Now, some of you have heard that he's the replacement speaker, and you've already had his introduction thanks to Ron. But I'll tell you, he is not a replacement speaker. He's entertained the table last night, he's entertained the green room this morning, and he's about to entertain you. Dr. Salgo is one of our country's most respected healthcare futurists. He is double boarded in internal medicine and anesthesiology. He's currently professor teaching internal medicine and anesthesiology at his alma mater, Columbia University in New York. He has been a very successful, experienced, and award-winning both Emmy and AP awards for medical correspondence. He is a person who has used various mediums between national publications as well as network television to get his stories and his messages out. He's covered such topics as infertility, AIDS, the cost of prescription medications in this country as compared to other countries, and for those of you in the medical field, you know what I'm talking about. It's a very big issue. has also covered the history and the future of modern medicine. If that weren't enough to make you feel like he's been busy, like most of our speakers, he's also a practicing physician. He's a medical director of an intensive care unit at Presbyterian Hospital, practicing in that as a boarded anesthesiologist and internal medicine physician. Most recently, he's used his talents at Ground Zero in New York City. And you're going to hear about that today, and I'd like to introduce and have you join me in welcoming Dr. Pierre Salgo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I live and work in New York City, and every time I get off an airplane on the West Coast, I wonder why I don't just stay here. Before I even get started, I've just got to observe you guys have the most beautiful country and the best weather I have ever seen in my life, and I want to take it back with me, but I don't think you're going to give it to me.
Please welcome Michael Mendez, President, CEO, Diamond of California.
Good afternoon and welcome. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. I've been asked to do one little bit of housekeeping. Those of you with a cell phone, we want to do a little education. If you might get your cell phone out, why don't you just do a thing called the off button. You could press that now. Thank you. I've been wanting to say that a long time, so glad I got the mic. Again, welcome. It's great to be here and to greet you on behalf of the 1,900 growers that own the Diamond of California organization. We have a chance to introduce a very special guest today. They've been on television for many appearances. You may have seen them on The Tonight Show, The Today Show, even live with Regis and Kathy Lee. They were featured in the Addams Family movie and were even invited to London for a Royal Command performance for Prince Charles. Please join me in welcoming Owen Morse and John Wee, The Passing Zone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sorry for that awkward pause, but they told us don't come out until you see your name on the screen.
Right.
So we follow directions. It's tight security back there. They've got that James Baker guy. They're serious.